are nationwide two Irish UN soldiers who have set up a charity to help the people of strife-ridden Lebanon. And you're very welcome to another edition of the programme. Today we're coming to you from Wexford, where I suppose we're all familiar with the sight of Irish UN troops serving in the Lebanon from our news bulletins. Well, two of those soldiers have now set up a charity which aims to help the people of that war-torn country. It's the Irish Lebanon Project, and it hopes to establish medical centres in the south of the country. And it's now appealing for Irish volunteers to give of their time this year.
There's no shortage of memories to talk about when these two friends get together. Micheál Diarmada and Sergeant Dan O'Connell have a special place in their hearts for Lebanon, having completed 7 tours of duty there between them over the past 20 years. They've returned to the country as tourists on and off over the past few years, and a chance meeting there sowed a seed that has now become the Irish Lebanon Project.
It was in December 2005 we went out to Lebanon, and while we were out there I got talking to a Lebanese gentleman by the name of Ayuba Yesh. He said the people in the villages were used to going to the Irish posts for medical treatment. On the Irish post we would have had a medic. The medic would have assisted the local people with bandaging, with colds, flus and so on. And if their ailment was anyway serious, doctors, the army doctors would see to the casualties. So when the Irish pulled out, this facility was gone. This was the biggest loss that the villages had suffered.
You know, all the villages that we used to occupy, they have no medical centres, they have no ambulances, nothing. And there's such a long distance from major hospital in Tibnin, and an awful lot of these people don't have money to get to these places. And we thought about it and we said, yeah, well, we'll look into this.
A brother of mine had just returned from South Africa, where he was a volunteer with Niall Mellon's Township project. And I went back and did a little bit of research on that, and we did a feasibility study on setting up a charitable status company and operating it on the same philosophy as the Niall Mellon project, and all of the credit for that philosophy goes to Niall Mellon. And that's how the project came about.
Since the Israeli pullout in 2001, things were on the up for the country as they rebuilt and developed their infrastructure. But the resumption of hostilities last year was a major setback.
You can imagine, when the war started and as it went on and on, it's to us it was devastating, but to the people on the ground out there, all that hope was all dashed and shattered, and the whole country was just in disarray. At the moment there's a lot of destruction out there, a lot of villages that have been wiped off the map. Now we returned out there after the war in November of last year, and I've just come back from a trip there in April of this year. People have moved back into damaged houses, for instance, where 2 rooms are livable, but where the roof of the house has collapsed, and where there's a lot of damage. The fields are absolutely littered with cluster bombs. There was, thousands upon thousands of cluster bombs that were dropped in the fields.
The charity is hoping to help the reconstruction of the country following last year's bombings. Their particular emphasis is on building medical centres, and they're looking for help from the Irish public.
Come out for 1 week, small little bit of building. Irish Lebanon Project, it's a registered charity company. We're looking for plumbers, plasterers, carpenters, electricians, labourers, block layers, painters to travel out with us for 1 week and to do some work. We're looking for school teachers that will travel out and teach in English, French, in the sciences, and also basic IT.
It's hard to encourage anybody to go to Lebanon because of the fact that it's a war, over the number of years, the wars that have been out there. But I would encourage the scenery type of thing to them, and the warmth of the people that are there. They need our help. They're a very friendly nation, and hopefully that would entice them to come out. But there are people very interested in going out.
One of those is David Young, a radio presenter on Cork 103 FM. He met Micheál when he interviewed him about the project and has now signed up for the trip in August.
As a kid growing up, we think about it since the late 70s, there's been an Irish connection there, and it's one of those curiosities, maybe just implanted in the back of the mind, that it would be fantastic to travel out and to see what it's all about. I would expect that it's going to be demanding, and perhaps that's part of the attraction, to go there and kind of just roll up the sleeves and get into it.
I do believe that we can just help this country out in some shape or form, because when the Israelis said that they were going to knock it back 20 years, they certainly did do that. There's many years work to be done in Lebanon, but this project is going to run for many years in the future.
Wonderful work, and perhaps you have a skill which you could use in support of it. That ends the programme for this evening. Do join us again at the same time on Friday next. Until then, from Wexford Town and from all of us in the Nationwide team, a very good evening to you.